Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabados of Delmar, together with my co-host Mark Hornich of Statewide News Service, jbiztechvalley.com, and now columnist for the Jewish Press.
Right, I have a column called Albany Beat, and we talk about in the column how the Jewish government relates to the Jewish community, or doesn't, as the case may be. But as the government always supports the arts, we have a very special guest with us today, Chad Rabinovitz. He's a member of the Jewish community, and he's also the producing artistic director of the Adirondack Theater Festival.
Yes.
So welcome to the Jewish View.
Thank you for having me here.
And I got to tell the audience that you are the only artist in the United States simultaneously serving as the producing artistic director of two theaters devoted to new and contemporary works, the Adirondack Theater Festival and Bloomington Playwrights Project in Bloomington, Indiana.
Also correct.
So
that paper wouldn't lie. So
that's right, exactly. So
Mark's a good reporter.
And you've directed more than 100 productions across the country.
Yes.
Wow. And you're so young.
Well, I don't know. The receding hairline would beg to differ. But
Yeah.
Well, I say I'm 29, so you can.
How old are you?
You know, on September 4th, I'll be 35.
That's it. You are young.
Yeah.
For over 100 productions. Boy, that's...
How did you come to the Adirondack area?
Well,
I mean, is it prestigious? I mean,
the Adirondack Theater Festival is a nationally renowned theater company. Yeah, I mean, even most recently, Murder for Two was developed there, which just was at Cap Rep, and it was off Broadway for a very successful run. So I certainly knew about it. They did a national search for the job, and it was about I think, 5-month process where I did multiple interviews. They flew me out here, and when I was in Glens Falls, this place is gorgeous. So and luckily they chose me. And
so you've gone through a full year there of production.
Yes.
And what's your record or report card? How do you like Adirondacks? How do you like the theater?
Well,
because you're a leader, but on the other hand, you have to work with everybody. And
in other words, did it live up to your expectations?
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, the real question is, did I live up to everyone else's expectations?
I'm sure you did.
We had a very successful season. Have you been to the Charles Wood Theater before?
Yes.
I mean, it's a gorgeous facility.
How many people does it hold?
296. It's when I interviewed for the job and I flew out for the first time. I have to say, it went well beyond my expectations. I just said to the board, I said, this is significant. It's a great space, beautiful downtown area, and people were coming.
They fill up for the most part for all your productions?
We sold out so many shows this year.
Really?
This year, we increased our ticket sales tremendously. We went from 5,779 tickets last year to 8,400.
Wow, that's a big increase.
So
we got very successful.
So do you attribute any of that to your marketing of the place, or do you, I mean, because Mark Fleischer was there before you, and he was on our show also.
Yeah.
So what do you, I mean, he left on good terms, I presume?
He left on great terms, and actually none of what I could have done this year was possible without Mark, because Mark, I would text him, email him weekly to daily, especially early on. Called him many times. He's such a smart guy, and he built the infrastructure that I was able to just grow on. And yeah, we increased the marketing this year. I think our shows were marketable, and fortunately, every time we did a show this year, starting with Kalamazoo, about the two 70-year-old widowers who meet online dating. Once we did that, people came, they loved it, they started bringing their friends to come back again, and that first show of the season became the best-selling non-musical of all time at ATF, the second best-selling show of all time, beating most musicals, and it was just, that started it, and then we did a show.
How long does your season run for?
8 weeks. So it's super quick.
And 6 shows in 8 weeks?
We do 4 main stage shows. We did 2 cabarets, a kid show, and a new play reading, all in 8 weeks. So it's over 8,000.
These are totally different actors also, or do they go from one show to another?
Totally different actors
for every show.
Yep. So we most of our actors are coming from.
Well, this I was going to ask, from Broadway?
Yeah. For example, we had in a show called The Uncivil War, we had playing Abraham Lincoln, J. Robert Spencer, who was the Tony Award nominee and original cast member for Jersey Boys and Next to Normal, which was pretty cool. And then he did a cabaret for us as well, and just really impressive talent.
Life got in the way for me. I couldn't make it up there, and I will next year.
All
will
right.
be there. You
It's
on
on a recording
That's
now,
right. It's on the record. I will be there. I'm
Good,
sorry
good.
I didn't make it this year.
You know people who can
comes
get you
to
tickets.
these are, you think, you have a percentage of who's local and who, obviously there's so many visitors that come to the Adirondack into our area in the summer. Do you have a breakup of the percentage?
You know, I don't yet. We just closed, I think, on the 8th. So a couple days ago, and so now this week is about me running those reports, finding out what that breakdown is.
The analysis. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly, there's a significant amount from Glens Falls and Queensbury as our
Catchment area.
yeah. And then we get folks from Canada. We get a lot of people from Florida. We get people vacationing from all
Just
over.
a place to be in the Capital District. It's really, I mean, you're just one part of it, but really just, I mean, I've always said, like Mark says, we have so many people on from the arts that we're such a hub. I mean, you have Tanglewood, you have Saratoga, you have Adirondacks, you have the Catskills. Really, for the summer, it's the place to be.
That's right.
I mean, this area it's incredible, and then you throw in the Berkshires and all the theater that is just in this region. It's pretty cool.
And the Hyde Collection is in Glens Falls, and that's nationally renowned. I think they have the 10th largest budget of a museum in the country.
Really?
They have a huge endowment, and they really put on spectacular museums. So I don't know if you feed off of them or if you work with them at all, the arts.
Well, Mark actually a couple years ago when we did a show called Filming O'Keeffe, combined with the Hyde.
George O'Keeffe.
Yeah, and they did some sort of partnership to get people to go to both places. Hyde is one of the first places I went to when I moved here. It's gorgeous.
That's great. Yeah.
So you probably would feed off each other. People would go to Hyde Collection, would come to the theater, the same kind of people.
Well, for me, it's about creating. We have an 8-week summer season, and I do all shows that you've never heard of before. So,
Were they originals?
yeah, they're new works. They're being developed. My goal is that Glens Falls is a place where we start shows that then move to New York,
To Broadway.
so that our community can say that's because of us. And I say in every curtain speech, what you see at the Charles Wood Theater, you see in Glens Falls, you can't see anywhere else in the world. And that's true, and that creates a sense of ownership. And what I'm trying to do is build an arts patron, because I am only serving the community for that short period of time, and I want them to go to the Hyde. I want them to go to the community theater. I want them to see other shows at the Wood Theater, because there's 365 days, and if you saw everything at my company, you're only going to go, assuming you'll probably go 3 times to every show, you'll still have at least 345 days to go see other stuff. So that's really the key, because then good art breeds more good arts and arts patrons.
What's your budget?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
there
And
you
how
go.
is it so? And we're
we'll
with
come
money
right to
over
that.
here. It is a Jewish view. But, and how is it divided up also? I mean, budget, but how much are like ticket sales, or how much are, like Mark was saying, maybe endowments?
Well, we have approximately about a $400,000 a year budget. And I'd say...
And your salary's half of that, right?
Yeah, right.
I get you.
You've never worked in the arts, have you? I should get you in touch with my mother.
That's right.
Well, what do you get paid? Really? Really about 40% of that is ticket sales. The rest is donations, is grants, local and state and national grants.
There are government grants. Not just corporate. I mean, there's corporate grants and there's government grants.
But the majority of what we subsist on really is a combination of ticket sales, subscribership, and individual giving. It's the biggest part is people who say, hey, these shows were great, and we want to contribute because what you're bringing to Glens Falls is important.
And how much do you get from like the state Council of the Arts?
Oh,
I'm always curious about stuff like that.
well, the state,
Because they keep
like
dwindling.
NISCA.
Yeah, they keep
That's what I was
dwindling.
going to ask also, with the state government grants. They are dwindling, people are cutting down.
Yeah, I mean, NISCA is for us. It depends on the year. I mean, it's going to be in that 10,000 range, and then they sometimes also support these the ability for us to be a pass-through grant, so we can commission playwrights to write new work for us.
Okay.
So there's a forwarding artists portion to that too. But yeah, it's not insignificant, but it's not huge.
Now, Kalamazoo was one of your favorite
Yes.
plays. Tell us a little bit about that
Well, it's about
and why it's so special for you.
Well, I just think it's an impactful, pertinent, heartwarming story. In it, he's an East Coast Jew and she's an Irish Catholic who's never met a Jew. And they go on a blind date together at a Mexican restaurant that's exactly equidistant between their two homes, and end up drinking one of those oversized margaritas and getting hammered, doing body shots off of one another, and wake up in an unknown hotel room. And that is just the start of the show. So it's extremely funny, but also has this deep emotional.
Supposed to be a comedy? I mean,
Yeah,
it doesn't
yeah.
sound like I mean, it could be a
You're
serious...
not laughing. You're not laughing,
yeah.
are you?
So, well, here's the idea. Maybe
See,
I'm
this
just
is
really
not a
bad at telling
this
jokes.
is not a Chabad thing, you know.
Well, so, in this scene, they wake up in this hotel room. I think this captures the comedy and the drama perfectly. He looks down and says, "My hip is sore," and she's like, "Oh, you were showing off your knee replacement." He said, "No, not my knee, my hip," and he pulls down his shorts and sees that he's got a tattoo of a shamrock on his butt, and because she's Irish Catholic, and
right.
she says, "It's no big deal. It's actually kind of cute. You'd get to have that for all eternity." And then she looks down, and she's got a Star of David tattooed on her chest. And then they start freaking out, and it's very funny. And then there's this moment he realizes he cannot be buried next to his Rosie, with his ex-wife, because he has this tattoo now. And so it all of a sudden turns, it makes a different direction. And she tries to comfort him, saying, I don't think God would let a little shamrock, something like a little shamrock, keep you away from your Rosie. And so it's a avenue to talk about these very serious and meaningful things through ridiculous comedy, and ultimately is about learning to re-engage with life. What do you do if you lose your loved one, and how do you get back?
Mm-hmm.
How do you
So who wrote this? I mean, who wrote the play? You say this original play.
It's Michelle Colos Brooks and Kelly Younger. Michelle Colos Brooks happens to be related to a famous Jewish comedian by the name of Mel Brooks.
Mm-hmm.
She's
Oh,
the
sure.
daughter-in-law of Mel.
It's
and,
his
Daughter-in-law.
Daughter-in-law. She's
Daughter-in-law.
married to Max Brooks, who wrote World War Z.
okay.
And Kelly Younger, who's a phenomenal playwright, and both extremely funny people. And we developed that in Bloomington, and then took it here.
That's what I thought. I thought it was developed in Bloomington.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then it was developed in Bloomington. It was then further developed in Los Angeles, and then the Glens Falls community. So we feel is the final draft of the show, but that's what we do, is we bring it to the audience. We see what they think. We see where they're laughing, where they're not, where you're looking at your watch, and where you're not. And
So you
Well, I
tune
have-
it up, that's your producer, that's really what a producer does? I mean, you cut, when you tune it up, so to speak?
it depends. In the theater world, it's a little different than film, where you have carte blanche to be changing
Just
things.
cut things.
Yeah, you work closely with the playwrights. For a new play producer, I work to develop the plays, give guidance to the playwrights, and then so much more as far as the marketing, the fundraising, and all of the artistic elements, the designers and whatnot. So
You have your finger on every part of
Well,
pie over here, so to speak.
It is
Just
a
so
giant
you
puzzle.
should know that there's another connection with Mel Brooks to this area is that his cousin, Todd Kaminsky, is an state assemblyman from Long Island. So there's a...
Maybe you can give a little extra
You
money to the
Well, we're trying
his
to...
relative.
Well, we're trying to get Todd on the show here, so we'll ask him at that
Okay,
point.
good.
See, we're a good
I like your
lobbyists
style. There you
also,
go.
the Jewish
That's
View.
it. So tell us about the PB&J Cafe, because that's for the kids, and maybe there's... oh, no, I see a true story, 3 little... Okay.
Kosher.
Kosher ones, yeah. Okay.
There was no ham served during that show.
Okay.
There you go.
But yeah, it was the first time we ever did anything like that. We did. It was the first time ATF's ever done a kids show, and we did one of the world's first dinner theaters for kids. The kids came in. They participated in a pre-show art activity. They made pig noses because in the show they were supposed to be the jury for the trial.
Okay.
And then they got to order their meal from the cast of characters, came out, and then they dined while watching a live musical theater performance. And
So
then
you served them what? The French fries and
well,
macaroni and cheese? And
they had the choice from peanut butter and jelly,
Oh, okay.
or I think bologna and cheese, or vegetables and dip. And
You
then
know, it's interesting you say the children's theater is just because, I mean, that is a big retinue, and I know I'm from Chicago, or even my wife actually was Heidi in Boston Children's Theater. But it's interesting that, I mean, you're trying to build it up. You say it's the first time. Is it going to be more next year?
I hope so. I mean, we sold out the entire run of that show before it started. So I think the demand is there. I mean, we literally don't make anything off of it. It's a community service. It's something I think is really important. If we're going to be developing new plays, we should also be developing the next generation of theater goers. Because, again, everything is about creating arts patrons and people who care about the arts.
You know, it's interesting because I actually, Theodore Bickel just passed away, you should know, and I brought him to the Madison Theater, which our producer is, what is he, the director of. In any case, I had him interviewed on the radio for publicity, and one of the questions was like this in Broadway, because he was on Broadway, Fiddler on the Roof. I mean, he was a major figure. The tickets were so high, so of course there's people with money and they fill the theaters, but what about the next generation? Who's going to afford, and even then $50, $75, you know, your young person just starting off is not going to, you know, goes with a date. You know, you're spending a few $100s by the time you're done. Who has that money just for one show? So we were talking about the next generation, but that's always, especially I think in the arts, because it is expensive, maybe rightfully so. You're dealing with live actors, but on the other hand, you know, exactly what you were saying, you want to raise up the next generation. The kids just, I think that's the story with ballet and the orchestra music. It's people, the young kids don't know about it because it's just not there and available to them. So, you know, I mean, again, as a rabbi also, that's what we're always thinking. You can fill up the synagogues with all these members, but what about the kids? What about the next generation? So that's always on our mind also. So I know it's a big issue. Some people just forget about children and, hey, we're doing all right. I mean, you have a lot of news like that also. Sports, they start at 9 p.m. They said kids are sleeping. You know, well, who cares? We got a big audience right now, but you're not thinking about, you know, these kids are just going to grow up and not care. I don't know if they care.
I mean, that's the big challenge, especially with the arts and theater, is it affordable for that age group? And how do you develop that patron, especially when you're charging high-priced tickets for classical plays, or for, you know, you keep repeating the same works, and a lot of the people who come are the ones who say, oh, I recognize that title. And so what we do is kind of bridge that gap. It's something that no one's heard of, so we're all on an even playing field. The stuff that we produce certainly plays, I mean, Kalamazoo plays to an older audience, no doubt, all of the stuff. Even when we did the rock musical this year, our older audience loved that show, but it also lets in that younger audience, starts offering them the opportunity. We can offer discount tickets for the young group as well.
What can you tell us about Jeremy Schonfeld?
Oh, I can tell you a lot.
Who I think is Jewish.
Yes,
Oh,
that
good.
is.
Could
Yes.
you give a little bit?
Yes.
I don't know that much also. So could
I
you-
don't know either. I'm asking him.
Well,
definitely.
Jeremy and I are good friends for a good while now. He actually wrote a CD of music. Let me see if I can explain this in the best way possible. His CD is called Iron and Coal, and his father was one of the youngest Holocaust survivors. And he wanted to tell us basically kind of a song cycle on his CD about this that paralleled his father's experience with him, with his experience, and just unbelievable music. He's one of the best artists, most talented people that I've known. I'm not the coolest guy. I don't ever expect to be listening to the music on the radio and hanging out with the people who I listen to on the radio, and Jeremy's one of those guys. I mean, his is the music that I listen to in the car, and he did the music for Spun, a brother-sister rock musical that we just did. And yeah,
He's a musical director more.
he's a
than
composer.
Composer.
Composer, singer, songwriter.
But he had his cabaret, so what was his cabaret like?
Well, his cabaret was a collection of songs from his CDs. He did not do Iron and Coal, as he said. I want to keep this one a little more uplifting than that.
Than the Holocaust,
yeah, but I say, it's just the most beautiful music.
And where is he from? And
he's a Brooklyn guy.
Brooklyn guy, me too.
Yeah, he's from St. Louis, I think. But yeah.
So where are you from?
I'm from Maryland.
Yeah.
Sykesville, Maryland, about 40 minutes from Baltimore, 20 minutes from Pikesville.
Yeah, so you from Maryland. How'd you get involved with theater?
Yeah, how did you get interested in going into the theater works?
I got cut from the basketball team my freshman year. And
basketball?
Yeah.
Did you say basketball?
Yeah. Don't look at me like you don't believe I ever played a sport.
What are you, 5'8"?
5'9" and a half.
Oh, okay. If you stretch. Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah. Oh, man, I'm never going to be an athlete. We were talking about canoeing earlier. Just the thought of physical exertion now. So yeah, I grew up as a magician, actually. I was fascinated by magic and grew up watching David Copperfield on TV. And I just started doing that. I became very obsessed with that. And in high school, because I didn't make the basketball team, I ended up, by a bunch of random coincidences, ending up in this show. I think it was sophomore year of high school. And I only got cast because no one else showed up to the audition. And this girl who would later be my prom date was like, "Hey, you're auditioning," and I'm like, "Maybe." And I never thought I'd get the role because one of my friends who was the class clown was going to audition, and he just didn't show up. So I got cast, and then I have a type A personality. The next year I was president of the drama club.
Right.
And it was,
so you were creating all the drama at school.
Yeah. So I get into that, and then I went. My parents guided me into a dual theater and business major.
Right.
At University of Pittsburgh. Made sure that I had that.
Well, you made the dean's list every semester. I read.
Is that on there, really? Yeah. My brothers. I'm one of three. I'm a triplet. My brother.
That's interesting.
Yeah, my brother and sister and I were valedictorians. We were tri-valedictorians of our high school. So we were studious, hard workers.
Over there, good genes.
Yeah.
And do you all look alike, or?
Well, fortunately for my sister, no. But we.
She doesn't have a receding hairline.
No, she's doing better. But yeah, we were. Yeah, it was. We were also really among the only Jewish people in the growing up in our community.
In Sykesville.
Yeah. So we kind of stood out when we had our B'nai Mitzvah. We were on the cover of the newspaper that day.
Yeah. Triplets having.
Yeah, triplets having it, and no one knew what a bar or bat mitzvah was, let alone a B'nai Mitzvah. So it was a thing. So somewhere, thankfully, this is pre, digital age. So there's no pictures of us in our 80s. Outfit.
Yeah,
my sister had very big shoulder pad things going on.
I'm sure they can dig it up.
Yeah,
Mark,
I'm sure
that's
it's
your
somewhere.
job. Dig it
I'll
up.
That's it.
I'll dig it up for the
Carroll
next time.
County Times. I'm sure it's there.
The Pikesville.
Flash it on the screen.
The Sykesville Pike leader or something. Yeah. So then you were a dual major. So did the business part of your dual major really help you in what you're doing as producing artistic director?
I mean, hugely, because I'm dealing with the fundraising, I'm dealing with marketing, and for me, one of the big reasons I came to Glens Falls is because of the Wood Theater and how the building of that and how that construction helped grow the downtown community. And I'm a big advocate for arts as an economic driver. And to go to a community where it's not only happening, but people see it.
Mm-hmm.
They see it happening, and everyone has seen how in the past decade that downtown area, the restaurants have been popping up and growing.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to be entrenched in that and to bring business and get people going out. So yeah,
That's interesting because we say we have like Schenectady, and they just said that this Proctor's is just, you think, okay, it's a business, people come to the show, but they just say really it's just even the psychology of it that there's something major in the city.
It's like an anchor store.
Yeah.
And people are coming, and the sort of restaurants and other businesses grow up around the theater. And it's very
But you're in
interesting.
charge of the business? I mean, that's another one of your 10
That's-
jobs. Hey, you're
That's the producing part of it, yeah.
Really?
I'm in charge of, I oversee all the finances, the budgeting.
And you have a board.
I have a board of directors.
How many people?
I think we're at 12.
12.
And then I have a managing director who handles the day-to-day.
Is that a
finances.
selling point for you? I mean, to a business, hey, we're here, we're doing well, but you're also going to gain, even the quality of life. Sometimes people are a good businessman or they're an executive. Should I go to Glens Falls? What's Glens? Ooh, look, we have, some arts here. I mean, so really, it's a good selling point to a business. Hey, where it's just not about the business. I know always schools and someone's looking to come into a community, they just don't want the business. They want what kind of quality of life.
Exactly. I mean, it's a big part of that. But I'd say the biggest difference for me, or that theater can make and the arts can make, is that when you go to a movie, you generally, eat at home, save some room for popcorn, go out to the movie, and get your popcorn and go home. When you go out to a live art performance, like at the Charles Wood Theater, you make a night of it. You generally go out to dinner beforehand. You'll go out to drinks afterwards. You might even go shopping. If you're visiting from out of town, you'll come to see a show, stay in a hotel. So the capacity for something that's not self-contained, like a theater, is going to drive people to those downtown businesses, rather than something like a movie theater or even a sports venue where you can save room for nachos, and everything is self-contained there. Doesn't make any of those things bad. It just means that we can actually bring business.
Right. So let me ask you, what do you see for the 2016 season? What's your vision?
It's not going to be Fiddler on the Roof? Or it's got to be original. I'm
the
sorry.
new
All
version
right.
of it. The new
All right,
version
yeah.
of it. I think I've get asked that question more in the past week, 20 times.
Well, then you must have an answer.
Yeah, my answer is, can I just relish in the
in the
3 days?
bask in the glow of the success of 2015.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the simple answer is that my job is to do even better. I've learned more about what the community wants, and I'm also at the mercy of what is new. What are playwrights writing now? What are the stories being told? What matters now?
But you wouldn't go to anything that was already on Broadway. Like I say, even Fiddler on the Roof. I mean, just throwing it out as an example. But hey, it's tremendously successful. Let's do it for a week. I mean, that wouldn't be part of your
no, it's
schedule.
because it goes against our mission. So technically, I can't. But it's also there are a lot of theaters who produce Fiddler or things like that, and it's getting done all over the country. And at some point in time, if there aren't theaters like ATF that make an effort to create the new work that does get to New York or across the country.
Like you have limited resources, so why put your limited resources towards something that's been done than when your mission is to do something new?
Yeah.
So I understand.
And our audience wants the excitement of something they can't see anywhere else. The community theater in Glens Falls is fantastic, and that's something that they might choose to do, or the local colleges. I actually happen to love the show, and there's a lot of older plays that I don't get to do because that I would love to. But for me, I worry about theater becoming a museum of all the shows that.
Well, you know what? I always say what's new is, even if it's something that's been done already, if no one's seen it, it's new to that area.
Yes.
So, you know, Fiddler's been seen everywhere, but there might be some Yiddish theater that has been forgotten about that you might want to revive, because, and without saying that it was already done in the early 1900s. And you could say,
Right.
wow, this is 100 years later.
They
This
revise
is
it,
Yiddish
they
theater
tune it.
that we
Yeah.
really, you know, at least need to remember or acknowledge, but maybe put a modern spin on it also.
Yeah, that's what I was going
You
to
know,
say.
like
revise it.
the Odd Couple has been done with not just two guys, but also two women, and has also been done with a black angle to it, and it's been done, you know, with all new
Yeah.
twists, but it's the same storyline. And it's tiring after a while, you know.
Yeah.
So I just think that if you get into something, even with Yiddish theater, you could still have a Jewish component to it and still make it new, because it's new to you.
Well, if they put it in
Yeah.
English, that'll be pretty new. Maybe Yiddish and the English over here, that'll be.
Yeah.
Is there a Jewish theater in the area?
No.
Lucky if there's one in the United States.
'Cause-
New York.
Well, in Bloomington, Indiana, there's
They do, yeah.
Jewish
Yeah.
Theater of Bloomington.
How do you like that?
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
All right. In any case, we're out of time.
give him a
gonna end on a
blessing.
picture of someone else.
Give him a blessing.
We need a blessing. You've been tremendously successful so far, so we give you a blessing that you should be continue, not only your success, but even keep on going and even more and more successful in everything you do. And we'll be back on the Jewish View listening to all your accomplishments.
And thank you.
Much success.
This has been a lot of fun. I appreciate it.